The following podcast is run by a couple of former wheel turners and one pit guy. It's meant for entertainment, not so much information, but sometimes there's some good information. The opinions expressed are just, these are the morons on the show. Not necessarily right, not necessarily wrong, not the views of any of the sponsors or anything like that. So, these guys, they're going to be talking, they might swear here and there, so if that offends you, either grow up or get a little permission from mom and dad.
All right, gentlemen, how you guys doing? Episode 224, so coming in hot. So, Coach Kraus, you attempted, I guess, to maybe try to race this weekend. You were at a racetrack. Let's just go with that. What happened in the heat?
Well, you're right. I was at a racetrack that I promote and help run, and you know how my dad gets, Ryan. He feels just awful when stuff like that happens. So the needle stuck. He just went through, the carburetor was brand new, the needle stuck. So they just watered the track, and I hadn't been in the car, so I let everybody lag, and I canned it in 1 and 2 on the high side and went down the back straight. I'm like, oh boy, this thing feels good and it sounds good. And I let off the gas and she blubbered and died. And the needle stuck. So we couldn't get her done, and that's about how far I made it.
I don't know. We're gonna come back to this. I'm a little suspicious. Probably didn't have any problems at all, but we'll touch on that in a minute. Bert, I know you went racing this weekend, didn't you? High flying big half mile out there in Shawano. How was your trip to Shawano this week? I know Seymour, you were gonna go there Friday, but they rained out, right?
Yep, Seymour rained out. I went to Shawano on Saturday night, and they hit double digits for late models, so that was good. Well, Plymouth Dirt Track was having their first 6-for-6 race for late models this year, so they had 24 late models in Plymouth, so they had a really good car count. So hopefully some of those drivers who travel to Plymouth will start making their way to Shawano, and to increase that car count a little bit.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll talk more about Shawano. I know you have a couple notes on there in a little bit, but episode 224 brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. So if you're in the market, right, if you're looking for health insurance, if you're self-employed, if you're an employee and maybe you don't get coverage from your boss, if you're a business owner and you have employees, farmer, trucker, whatever it is, right? If you feel like you're paying too much, and maybe for something we don't even use, right? A lot of times we're in good health, you don't even go to the doctor and you're still paying all that money. And if you're looking for a way to keep some of that money in your pocket and have a great product, I have a product called Impact Health Sharing. Feel free to hit me up on Messenger or text or call me at 218-969-1380. I can get you a quick, no obligation quote and get you all the information you need. So, guys, no racing for me this weekend. I actually went up and had to go up to see Mom. I live a long ways away now, so had to go up and visit Mom and Dad this weekend. Had a blast. Great to see them, of course. But let's start with our weekly tech report here. So we had Billiam on the show last week, and Changa and I actually had an opportunity after this weekend, pretty full weekend for Billiam. We had an opportunity to jump online with him quick. We had a couple questions, couple topics, and we'll slide that in here so people can see it and kind of talk about it. But before we get into a little bit of that, a quick shout out to Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating in Ashland, Wisconsin. So they are the main sponsor of the best series in all of Wissota racing, the Northland Superstock Series. In fact, Superstock drivers, mark this down, June 1st, $4,000 to win the opener for the series, ABC Raceway up in Ashland, Wisconsin. Going to want to make a trip up there. Really good money. Those guys do a great job. And for Fastlane, one thing that you got to remember is they do it all, right? Custom powder coating, fabricating, they sell parts, tires, safety equipment, you name it, they do it. Chris and the crew, great group of people. Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating in Ashland, Wisconsin. So I'm going to flip over here. We're going to I'm going to show this little clip. We got me and Changa here having a little chat with Billiam, and we'll come back to this in just a minute. All right, gentlemen, Changa, thanks for joining us here on the show today. I know you're a super busy guy. Billiam, crazy busy. I know you're down in central and western Minnesota for some Challenge Series stuff. 2 weeks in a row, you're joining us here. Hey, how'd things go down in western and central Minnesota?
You guys got me on this fucking podcast again. Yeah, association said I had to go down there and keep an eye on them guys for that shakedown series starting. So I went down there, and I was pretty glad I went because, you know, they had some good pizza, and I had a good hot dog, and I think they had a walking taco that worked out really well for me. And yeah, I was there on official business, so I was, you know, in my capacity, and yeah, there were some races, and I didn't really, you know, pay much attention to them because I never do. I don't really want to know what's going on with them. And then afterwards, I, you know, measured a few things and kicked a few tires and looked pretty important, so people didn't question me. And none of the unwritten rules, well, some of the unwritten rules, I can't really remember, you know. I don't really pay attention that much.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And I'll be honest with you, there's different tracks I've gone to. I understand, right? You go for the food, you stay for the racing. Racing's optional. I understand completely. So, little bit of stuff happened here in the past week or week and a half, maybe, since you've been on the show. Midwest Mods. A post comes out from the Midwest Mods, right? And in the Midwest Mods, I think the SSR cars on their nose pieces, the way that they were built, there's roughly a 3-inch by maybe 1-inch lip sticking out where the side fin is. I looked at it, it's kind of covered up by the bumper. I mean, was it necessary to have a press release on this? Was it necessary to even focus on this? Is this really a big deal?
See, you guys always bitch. Billy doesn't enforce. Billy doesn't know what's in the rule book. Well, here's the situation that Billy knows what's in the rule book. And I'm here to tell you, yeah, it is a big deal. 3 inches is a big deal. Ask any woman in Wisconsin. They're going to tell you it's a pretty big deal. So, yeah, I guess I've never had to complain about the 3 inches, but that's just me. But, yeah, this goes to show you that we have to enforce these things. I know those guys over there, they really can't read, so there was a diagram with the arrow pointing to it, so they understood. So, again, the pictures and coloring books came into play, and you see what I know with the one post from that SSQ manufacturer, they put it out there. But yeah, this is going to make a big deal. And there's those brothers out there that are pretty fast. I think they're the Jansons or something like that. There's that Joseph that's wicked fast, and then his not so talented brother, Brendan or something like that. He was always the slower one, and I don't even know why does he even keep trying, because he's never going to be as good as brother. But yeah, it's definitely a big deal, and it's something that, you know, written rule Billy needs to know about what's going on, and I got to enforce it because you guys say I never do it.
Well, you know, I know that you are a little bit more likely to kind of focus on the unwritten rules. This one here is actually in the rule book. I don't know that it's necessary, but, you know, have you done any testing of any kind to see if this actually makes a difference, or is this just something to kind of kill the boredom?
Well, just like the unwritten rules, I've done some non-testing on this thing. And by non-testing, I mean, I thought about it a lot, and I pictured what it was going to do, and I didn't really apply it in real world, you know, technology, but I think it's pretty good. So I'm going to use my non-testing results, which were extremely good. And just like the unwritten rules, nobody knows what those results are, because I really don't even know, because it was a non-test. But at the end of the day, it's something they're going to have to enforce, and that's why we're doing it.
Well, I tell you what, I don't think it's a huge deal. Changa, I mean, any thoughts on that? Do you think that 3-inch by 1-inch lip there on the right front of them SSRs, do you think it's a big deal, or does it really matter what we think? This is kind of a Billiam deal at this point.
Well, I mean, again, obviously it doesn't matter what we think. I mean, I thought the thing was useless, but Billiam apparently tried his blow test on the thing, and, you know, it was working for him, you know, to their advantage. So he figured he had to make an written rule.
Well, that would be his version, I'm guessing, of the Billiam wind tunnel, right? He just blew on it. Okay, fair enough. I understand. All right. So another thing that happened here in the past couple weeks is literally in the street stocks and in the modifieds, 2 drivers, 30-day suspension, $1,000 fine, both I believe, paid the double fine so they could race the next night. The rev box, the soft touch box, I believe disconnected. Needless to say, the engines were able to reach a lot higher RPM in theory. Don't know if it made a difference or not. Billiam, is this really necessary? Do we need to have an RPM rule, a rev chip limit? Why do we have this?
Here's yet another example of you guys bitching about, we need to police these, we need to make things cheaper, and we do that. We have rev limits in them. And these people just ignore us. They unplug them and they go and run them, and then they get their fine, and then they pay their fine, or they double their fine, or whatever they do, and they get to come and play again. So it's kind of like you wonder, why are these rules even in play? But that's just the way it works on the Money Grab Express here. But to address your point with the rev chips, yeah, it makes a big deal. And the reason I'm enforcing this and why it's a big deal to me is these guys that are revving their engines over revving them, they're the rich guys, just like when we were younger. You know, remember the rich guys had the fancy cars, and they'd come and sit in front of the schools and rev their engines and, you know, make us all not feel good because, well, I don't know who else. I was probably the only one that didn't have a car to rev. You know, my bike didn't rev, so I could pedal it loud, but not that nobody was impressed by that. So now's my chance to get even with them, and that's what I'm doing. And that's exactly what this rev is doing. It's taking all the guys with the money and putting them in their spot for us guys on the pedal bikes that are at the taco stand. We can do this.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, I know Princeton's a really big racetrack, probably out there turning old US MTS numbers, probably about 9,500, 10,000 on the chip, more than likely. So I get it. A bunch of fucking cheaters probably all got to get disqualified. In theory, I think it should be personally. I think it should be like being light at the scales. You're disqualified for the night. But Billiam, I get it. You're hurt. This is something that kind of goes back to the core. You're going back to your childhood. You're literally not the guy revving up your engine, and you're getting back at these guys. I guess at the end of the day, you're winning.
Well, yeah, we can't just disqualify them for the night, because then there's no money grab there. So that's why we have to go with the 30-day suspension. And like I say, they pay the money. So yeah, sometimes it's gut feeling, and I get the suspension that way, and sometimes I just good old fashioned throw a dart at the wall and see what sticks. And either way, it's unwritten, it's gut feeling, but nobody really questions it. There's nobody there to put me in my place, so we're just gonna keep going on.
Well, that's been interesting. Couple big ones here right away. Changa, I know that you had a question here from this past weekend at the Viking Speedway as well.
Yeah, so Billiam, I understand you were down teching the old late model challenge series this weekend, and more specifically down there at the Viking Speedway on Saturday. I guess my question is I couldn't help but notice that red 29 star, the Kraus character, he decided he was going to abort mission and pull off during the parade lap of his heat race. I guess my question is that because he was, afraid of you, or what's going on there? Was he afraid of the 7 other cars that showed up that night? What happened there?
Yeah, so I made it down to their little half mile there on Saturday, and I got to tell you, first and foremost, I was not welcoming like the night before when I was at Mafia Don's place. That the family welcomed me with open arms, and things were good, and made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and then we moved on, and it was good. And then I got to that little sandbox that Crush and Man Bun Dan always brag up on their little mud podcast. And yeah, I think he got a little bit scared. He dodged me all night, and he pulls up for his heat race, and he seen me out there. I had the tape measure, and I had her set on 3 inches just in case he had one of them B-mod wings on the front, and I was all ready for him. And no, he just ran like a scared little girl.
Wow, kind of shots fired across the bow. I thought he broke something in the heat, but there could be some truth. He might have been scared of going to the tech shed there in the heat race. I don't know. You know what? I don't think they ran the feature in the super stocks either.
I guess that was the second part to my question there, Ryan. And I was wondering, if that's why the Kraus character drugged that program on for like 5 hours and 10 minutes, and then decided to postpone the super stock feature. What was the story? Is he still just being afraid of you there?
Yeah, I don't know what was going on, but they definitely tried to make the old Shakedown Chris's series look bad by overextending it on time. And they tried everything. They tried all sorts of ne'er-do-welling. They closed a concession stand thinking that was going to deter me, but it didn't. I stayed. And then he drugged a show out, and I think they had a spelling contest for Man Bun Dan out there, and he didn't win that, so they drug out a little bit longer. And then they had a coloring contest for a 29 star guy, and they did everything and they could, so he didn't have to drag his jalopy out there and face me. But he talks a pretty good game on that show.
Wow. So shots fired there. So, I mean, we're going with the theory here then that Krause essentially drug it on so he did not have to face Billiam in the tech shed. You know what? That I guess I can see that. I can understand that. With that said, they're going to make that feature up. My assumption there, Billiam, is you're probably going to be up in Hibbing when they do make that feature up. So, I mean, is he going to kind of skate by scot-free and not even have to, pay the piper?
We'll have to see if the association sends me down there. It's all up to Sally and the minions down there to see if I'm going to have to go. But I would love to be there for that night. Knowing old Red Star 29, he's probably going to schedule it for a night when everybody's busy and he'll be the only guy there. And he probably still won't even win that night. He'll come in second to himself because that's just, he's old and decrepit and that's just the way he is. So, but if it works out, I'll definitely be there because I'm gonna check some stuff on his car, and he's not gonna like what I check, but that's just how it's gonna be. And there's gonna be some unwritten rules. There's gonna be some newly unwritten rules that are I got special for him.
Well, I tell you what, hey, we all got to jump off. We're busy. Billiam, appreciate you coming on here this week. We're gonna probably have you back on in weeks to come. Changa, thanks for joining us here, and we'll talk to you boys later. Coach, are you fucking kidding me? Really? I mean, I don't know what to say about all this, man. I got to be honest. You're saying needle and seat stuck, and I kind of maybe tend to lean to believe you, but I know your dad's pretty on top of stuff, so I kind of doubt there was an issue with the car. Is this true? You kind of pussing up? I thought you were a tough guy, hockey guy, literally pulling off the track to avoid tech in a heat race and then canceling the super stock or postponing that feature so you don't have to face the music with Billiam. Is this legit? Is this for real?
Come on now. Really, Billiam don't know what he's talking about. We all know that. He's got no idea what he's talking about to begin with in the first place. Probably out to get me. Who knows what's going on? Shows up to Viking Speedway, tries to sneak in and try hanging out, so you can't see anybody. But no, it's just a case of Billiam basically doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
All right. I don't know. I mean, hey, all you fans, right? Some of you watched online. Some of you were at Viking. Punch the buttons. Let us. I mean, you heard it here. You heard Billiam. You heard Coach's side. Punch the buttons. What do you think? Did it just happen that way, or did he literally delay it to not have to see Billiam in the tech shed? I don't know. I want to hear what everybody else has to say below. That's what I want to hear. All right. Now let's move on to the next topic. Some really good racing. Now we're getting to that time of year, guys. There's a shitload of racing every single week, right? Knock on wood, right? Mother Nature cooperates. But let's go to our top 5 moments and stories of the week. And it's hard to narrow it down to 5, but we're going to try to do that. But first, a shout out to our friend Nick Hoff, Hard Charger Performance Specialties out in Sydney, Montana. Nick, over 20 years of building engines, built engines for me, built engines for Jeff Provenzino and several others. Street stocks to late models, everything in between. Doesn't matter what it is. He builds a good piece, great guy. And if you're out in that area and you run a Wasota crate motor, you need to have that fixed because you got to go to a certified guy. Nick's the go-to guy for crate repairs. Also, if you're out there and you're looking for some dyno time, how do we get your engine a little quicker? How do you get some more out of it? Schedule dyno time with Nick Hoff out there. Kind of the only guy within like a 500-mile radius where you can schedule dyno time. So that's Hard Charger Performance Specialties, and you can reach Nick at 406-478-4437. All right, guys, number 5. This one probably could have slid up the list because, I mean, let's face it, the national late model scene is kind of a big deal in dirt track racing. But let's go with this. Unstoppable, possibly. RTJ, The only thing that kept RTJ from winning 4 in a row and on the Lucas Oil Tour was Fairbury taking rubber. First of all, that's kind of a shock because Fairbury usually doesn't take rubber, but it did, right? And I think he might have won that race, but I tell you, 8th to 1st on night number 1, good race there with Shannon Babb. Night number 2, tracked down Devin Moran, just not enough racetrack to get by. Your thoughts, guys, on the Lucas Oil action and specifically the point leader, Ricky Thornton Jr.?
Well, there's a saying in sports that you have to defend your home turf, and we expect a lot from the Illinois drivers, and they did not defend their home turf. RTJ went in there and laid claim to being the superior driver for the weekend, and we talked on the show, I don't know, a few weeks back, questioning RTJ, but I don't think there's any reason to question him anymore.
I got to be honest with you. I expected to see Bobby Pierce contending for wins both nights. He didn't even make the feature at Farmer City. I get it. Had some shit luck. That's just part of the game. But, there's a guy that you pretty much expect him to be on the podium at Farmer City and Fairbury. Got caught up in an incident at Fairbury. I would say arguably the quickest Illinois guy trying to defend the turf might have been Shannon Babb.
Yeah, Farmer City, I haven't seen Babb run up front a lot lately, so I was really pulling for him to win that race, but his engine just shut off and he figures something jiggled loose, and that's why he had to retire early from the race. But he was in the lead there with a few laps to go, just couldn't do it though.
Yeah, so night number 1, he contended for the win, led a big chunk of that race. Night number 2, he gets a flat tire and destroys half the field because, Coach, I'm going to ask you this. This is a small track, right? It fits inside of the Viking Speedway. When you're on a bull ring and you come out of turn 4, you get a flat tire. Do you park it in the middle of the front straightaway, or do you think maybe you should go to the left or go to the right and get the hell out of the way? Because Bobby Pierce got caught up.
You need to get out of the way quickly and right now because you got the whole field coming. And especially there when you're in the turn, you're turning and all of a sudden it's boom. It's not like, some of these bigger tracks and wider track, you can kind of see ahead of you, you can kind of see something going on. So yeah, you got to get the heck out of the way right now.
Another guy that actually ran really well there, he faded a little bit. I think he finished 4th or 5th on night number 2, but the high side hustler, Jason Fager, pretty darn impressive. He led a big chunk of that race, and then he just kind of went away. And do you think it was a matter of him kind of going away a little bit, Kraus, or do you think that the bottom just started to kind of latch up a little bit and he was kind of a sitting duck and wasn't able to get down as quick as he needed to?
Yeah, I saw a couple interviews. I didn't watch the race, but I saw a couple interviews with some people posting on Facebook that it was latching up a little bit earlier, not like completely latched up. But if you got down there and felt it, you could take off a little bit quicker. And those guys, you could drive a little bit harder. So there were some people that snuck up on some people, and you can do that in the rubber, especially, it's kind of like the high limit race last night. A couple of those guys got in that rubber real quick. And it was like, boom, here we go. And they went right to the front. So you got to search around. And, sometimes when you're in the back of the pack, you're searching. And all of a sudden you drop down low. It's like, oh, boy, there's some grip. There's some rubber down here. Then you're going to sit there. So, yeah, it was definitely a case where he snuck up on some people in a hurry.
Absolutely. A little bit of drama as well, right? We had that incident with Pearson Babb. Then in the heat races on night number 2, RTJ and T-Mac. That was, racing deal, but good old Rocket 1. I don't think that crew was very happy because RTJ come off the bottom, KO'd the side of T-Mac. T-Mac actually looked pretty sporty. Do you think if that doesn't happen, I think T-Mac obviously is going to get second in that race. Do you think that maybe he found some speed and maybe could have contended for a podium finish?
I did not see the incident. I didn't get to watch that heat race, so I'm not exactly sure what. But if he was running well, we all, well, you guys especially, you guys have race cars. Track position means everything. So if he's starting closer to the front, he has a better chance of finishing well.
What do you think, Kraus? Is T-Mac finding some speed with Rocket 1, or are they still kind of out to lunch?
I think they're still kind of out to lunch. I think T-Mac needs a little T-Smack to maybe get a little chip on his shoulder and get a little mad. You know what I mean? I think he needs that right now, and a lot of stuff going on there. It's a new deal, but I think T-Mac needs to be T-Smack and start laying the lumber back to these guys and not putting up with it and staking your claim. You're in the Rocket One house car. That's what it is. That's what Mark Richards expect. So you need to stake your claim, T-Mac, and you need to be T-Smack from now on.
Absolutely. So number 4, multiple.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bert. No, go ahead, Bert.
Well, I was just going to say there's no love lost between Turbo and Pierce again this past weekend.
Yeah, touch on that a little bit. A little bit of drama there. Turbo kind of getting the short end of the stick on that one.
Yeah, I was in the heat race, and Pierce, did a slider and slid up in front of Turbo, and Turbo just kind of ran out of real estate and made contact with Pierce, but Pierce was able to keep going, and Turbo wound up in the wall.
One of these days, them two might actually throw fists. I don't know. I don't know who I would take. I think I would probably take Turbo in that situation, but
I think so.
They definitely do not like each other, which honestly, that's great for racing. You got to have those rivalries. We need Turbo to find more speed, because if he can be contending for wins and have drama with Pierce, that's good for ratings. That's for sure. Number 4, multiple first-time winners. Bert, you said you had a first-time winner over there in Shawano. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Derek Yonke won the IMCA modified feature at Shawano Speedway. And I mean, not only was it his first win in the IMCA modified, it was his first feature win ever in any division. And he's had to have been racing for at least 15 years, if not longer. And he's raced a lot in the late model division. He's one of those racers that we talk about where they don't win, but they're at the track every week. And those are the racers that you need to have in order to have a successful racing program. So it was good to see him get in victory lane. I talked to him afterwards, and he said that he's led until the white flag. He's led with 2 to go, but he could never seal the deal until this last weekend. And he also said he's not done with even though he won the feature in the IMCA modified division, he said he still prefers racing late models, but he doesn't have an engine for his late model right now, so it's just sitting in the garage.
Well, congratulations, Derek. Great to see you get that first win, and hopefully he has some more coming behind that one. A couple guys in Wissota country. So you're reigning, actually, I guess not reigning, I guess he is, but not defending, but you're reigning Wissota Midwest Mod National Champion, Zach Benson, A-Mod winner over at Princeton. Pretty cowboy up racetrack there, guys. I mean, let's face it. There was a lot of rain in central Minnesota. There was a lot of racetracks that had some character. That was definitely one of them. In fact, the Mod 4 leader in the Mod 4 feature hooked a rut and tipped it over. But I tell you what, he looks smooth. Zach Benson's a good race car driver. And I've always said this, if you can win and win at a high level in any class, you can move to any other class, and with the right equipment, you're a race car driver. You're going to win. Congratulations, Zach Benson. Super Stocks, another second generation driver here, Alex Myers over at the Red Cedar Speedway. Now, Kraus, did you get a chance to watch? Please tell me that you watched the end. Dude, I'm gonna give you a donkey award. You're a freaking super stock guy. Okay. You need to watch this. Okay. I need you to jump on, and I need you to watch this, and I need you both to check this out, and I want the fans to. So it's on Dirt Race Central. I have a question. Multiple came to me. So Alex Myers goes on to win the feature. Kurt Myers was right in tow following his kid. Here comes Terrence Spacek a lane up, and he's going by both of these guys, right? He goes by Kurt, and they come in. I think they're coming off of turn 4, and next thing you know, there's Terrence Spacek getting a little sideways via the right front corner of Kurt Myers' car. So people are asking, did he just kind of throw a elbow into Terrence Spacek to maybe throw a block for his kid? Kind of remind me of the old Dale Earnhardt thing. he was pretty excited about his kid winning, and that's a great deal to get a first time win. But I'd kind of like to see what other people have to think. I think maybe there's no love lost there between Terrence Spacek and Kurt Myers. And if he had a shot to maybe kind of throw a block in there for his kid, I think he'd probably take it. Watch that on Dirt Race Central. Post in the comments. Let us know what you think. But that was pretty interesting one. Congratulations, though, to Alex Myers. All right, guys. Number 3. Street stocks shine again. This one at the high flying half mile, the Viking Speedway. Coach Kraus is probably down there playing kissy face with people or something. So I'm not sure if he actually watched the races or not. Please tell me you did, because this one was fantastic. 17-year-old Ty Agan from Wisconsin. He started, if you just look at the box scores, started pole, won the feature, right? It's like, well, no big deal. Started on the pole and won. Last 5-6 laps of that deal was at Donnybrook, swapping the lead there with Kyle Dykoff, a former national champion. And they actually, I mean, it was an epic battle side by side, literally for 5 or 6 laps. Last corner, here comes Agan just pounding it in the middle into 3, drove around him, took home the win, his 4th straight win. And I tell you what, this kid, he's going to be a contender this year. Kraus, did you get a chance to see this live and in living color?
No, because I was off doing something. This is actually, Ryan, get this, Bert. I had no idea who won that race until Sunday. It was just the way it was. I rewatched the race because I had heard about it, and I heard the roar of the crowd about it. I don't know. I can't remember if it was 2 to go the white flag. Did you see them split that lapper down the back straightaway coming out of 2?
It happened a couple times. It happened a couple times.
There's a couple guys.
Agan was using them as a pick, and he kind of forced the issue.
He was, and I think that one lapper they split coming out of 2, I think that helped Agan because he had a good run out of there, and that helped him get that win through 3 and 4. So I heard the crowd. I heard the crowd going nuts. I heard people going, "Man, was that street stock race good?" And it was even good behind them. And Dykoff's got a lot of laps around that place, and Ty Agan's been. He showed up for the, obviously the Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour. And I don't know if you know Ryan, him and his crew and his dad, they're huge Dirt Podcast fan, and they're huge One to Go Show fans. They actually came over to my pit last year and introduced himself and to me and my dad. And he said, "Oh, we watched the One to Go Show." And I think they even said something about some Burt guy from some Wisconsin too. So it was an epic race. It was a great race, and definitely something that we're going to see here in a couple of weeks because we have the DRC Street Stock Tour come to town Memorial Day weekend, and with these street stock car count numbers right now, it's just ridiculous. So we're going to have I think you remember seeing the show last year with Hunter Carter and Riley and Hunter Anderson, those guys they put on. So it's fun to watch, and it was just a great battle between those guys, and they were both super happy at the end of the night.
Yeah, and we're Ty Agan fans because this kid's getting more fun to watch, like each and every year. I mean, he's been racing now seemingly, it seems like forever, but I think it's about 3 years he's been in the street stock, and literally day one. I mean, he was a contender, but he's really smoothing out and kind of coming into his own. Guys, this kid right here, keep an eye on the points as it gets towards the end of the year. He will be in the conversation for a national championship. There's going to be multiple drivers there because street stocks are highly competitive, but this kid right here is going to be one to watch. Now, number 2, we'll stick with the youth movement. Youth movement at the Rice Paddy. 15-year-old Blake Adams, 3rd generation racer, right? Huge legacy right here. Finally scores his first feature win of the year in the Midwest Mod. Guys, he should have won on Friday. He led that one, got the lead, broke something in the right front. I think a ball joint broke or whatever. And then following that race, 1,200 to win modified special. You're at Rice Lake. Guys, you're at Buzzy Adams' house. This is Buzzy Adams' house, Rice Lake Speedway. Mike Anderson has won a lot of races there. Those two, they got 2nd and 3rd. To a 15-year-old Caden Blazer, another 2nd-generation driver. His dad, a former Wissota 100 modified A-main winner. Guys, Caden Blazer, there was a yellow with 5 to go, put a straightaway on Buzzy Adams in 5 laps. absolute ass kicking on Buzzy Adams. Buzzy, kids are whooping your ass, dude. That's why I retired. I'm old. That's why I had to get out. I can't let that shit happen. This kid here's a really, really good race car driver. He's been extremely fun to watch. But I tell you what, if you put a straightaway on Kevin Buzzy Adams, you have your shit together. This kid is going to win some races this year for sure. Did either of you get a chance to watch either one of those races? I know, Bert, you watched a little bit of that mod race.
I watched a little bit of the mod race, and I watched a little bit of the Midwest mod race because I thought it was the mod race. Those mods, they look so close together. And in the Midwest mod, it's like everybody was number 40. There's a 40, there's a 40, and there's another 40, all racing side by side practically. But I did watch a few laps, and yeah, I mean, Caden looks really smooth out there. I mean, for 15 years old, that's crazy.
Especially in Wisconsin, because you guys don't have tech guys and rules over there, so the cars definitely look a lot alike. Kraus, you were shaking your head. What do we got going on here?
Oh, I just watched the Red Cedar deal.
Oh, you did? Okay, all right.
With about 6 to go, Kurt wasn't going to pass his kid. It was pretty obvious. He wasn't. I mean, he was faster than him. The kid was slowing down, and I'm pretty sure was that last year when Myers stuffed Spacek in the wall at Rice Lake? And he just tried doing the same thing at Red Cedar Friday night?
I don't think they're exchanging. Yeah, they're not exchanging Christmas cards.
But what do you do? You know what I mean? What do you do if you're Kurt? I mean, what are you going to do about it? I mean, I'm not saying that the white 29 ever ran the 2 off the track at Viking Speedway when the 2 was chasing down the red 29. I'm not saying that ever happened, but it's racing. You got 2 cars out there. It's team race. NASCAR's team racing, is it not? I mean, they do it in NASCAR all the time. So, hey, if Kurt wants to let his kid win, he's going to block. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that you're onto something. I think there was some blocking too. But the youth movement over there, I tell you what, them kids are pretty fun to watch. It's pretty cool having a few of them second generation, third generation racers come up and win races. Blake Adams probably should have had 2. Buzzy did win Friday night and didn't get one done on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of Buzzy, him and Blake, I heard that they took a little tour traveling to Montevideo. Do you know why?
Bert, here's the deal. I think they just wanted to go support Fiesta City Speedway and come on over this neck of the woods. I'm a former track champion at that place. Their fans are very passionate. And I think, Ryan, did you win the Strawberry Dash one year down at East Bay? Did they ever do that in the mods down there, or is that just the late models?
Just the late models. Just
the late model. I'm pretty sure there's a cherry farm over there by Fiesta City Speedway, and then they give you cherries at the end of the night if you win, is because there's a bunch of cherry pickers over that way. So I'm just throwing that out there that maybe that could be the reason. But I think he just went over there to support and do some traveling. I know at the end of the day, Ryan, they're out cherry picking. They 100% are. It is, I don't know. I don't get racers. The cost of diesel, what it costs to get around. And don't get me wrong, they do a great job down there at Fiesta City Speedway, and the track I know has been soft, and they've been trying to get in, and they really work hard. Their fans are passionate down there. They really are. They got a good group of fans down there. I raced there weekly for years, so I get that. But at the end of the day, I think he stopped at the supermarket on the way and went to the fruit section and or at Dairy Queen, got himself a cherry slushie. But he's definitely picking some cherries there, Bert.
What? That's my boy. I got to be honest. I'm a Buzzy guy, right? This one kind of stings a little bit. When I saw them guys on my race pass at Fiesta City Speedway, I'm like, everything else rain out because they live like 40 miles or so from Menominee, and that's like 250 miles, and they had to be back in Rice Lake the next day. I wasn't really kind of putting it all together, but it almost paid off. I guess Buzzy got a win. Blake should have. He broke a right front, and he had the lead when it happened, but I guess equal opportunity. We'll give everyone shit, whether it's Buzzy Adams, Jeff Krause. It doesn't matter. Everybody's in the crosshairs on this show. All right. Top story of the week, and it was a good one. I tell you what, I was pretty darn impressed. Your 2021 WISSOTA Late Model National Champion, 2022 WISSOTA Challenge Series Champion, and 2023 Tri-State Champion, Cole Searing. He did not really race much WISSOTA last year. He kind of focused on Tri-State. I got to be honest, I think there's some WISSOTA guys hoping he goes back and tries to defend that Tri-State deal because his shit is extremely good right now. Night number 1 and night number 2 parked that baby in victory lane and had to fend off some vicious slide jobs. I mean, it was super cool to watch, closing laps at Fergus and at the Viking Speedway. But a great weekend. Cole Searing, 2 firsts and a 4th. The night that he got 4th, he started, I don't know, 82nd or something like that in the feature. He came from deep and moved a long ways forward, but what a weekend for Cole Searing. And just for the Challenge Series in general, good car counts, good racing, and a little bit of parity as well. I'll talk about that in a minute, but I want your guys' takes on Searing specifically because he had a fantastic weekend. I mean, his shit is really good, but on the Challenge Series in general, what stuck out to both of you guys this weekend in West and Central Minnesota?
Well, I did watch all 3 features for the Challenge Series and different types of tracks. But in that Fergus, the first night, I didn't think Jimmy Mars. Jimmy Mars didn't have a chance to catch him. I didn't think Sammy Mars was gaining, but I thought he was too far back to even challenge him going into 3 and 4. And he actually did the slider to take the lead, but Searing beat him to the line. So I mean, that was a great finish in that race.
He had to have been 5 car lengths behind, maybe getting into 3, and he just flat out Bobby Pierced it. Like, I'm just gonna go wide open and I'm gonna slide across the racetrack and hopefully it sticks, and it stuck. But Searing anticipated it, turned back down underneath him, beat him to the line, took home the win. Coach Krause, your thoughts? Because if one slide job and crossing over is good, there might be something a little bit better.
Yeah, it was a double slide job. It looked like that at Viking we were going to go 30 laps green to checkered, and we've done it multiple times there with late models. You got really good drivers. The track was racy. They were all over it, and then all of a sudden we had one yellow, and then it was haymaker after haymaker. It reminds me of Eldora, Ryan and Bert. You know, when the yellow comes out at Eldora, you know what's going down in turn 1. So you and Cole, you know, you got to pick a lane, and none of those guys have a lot of laps at Viking Speedway. Sam's first ever laps. Cole only has them in a super. TPO has some in a mod, but he said in his interview he's thrilled to death to get second at Viking Speedway because he's never done anything at Viking. So I saw it live, and then I watched Cole Searing's in-car camera. That was cool. And all of a sudden you see, boom, here comes TPO, and then all of a sudden double slide job. Sammy Mars throws a slide job on both of them, and Cole Searing had to cross them both back over all the way down to the bottom, and then had to retake the lead. And at the same time, right behind them, Provenzino punted Zabrowski out in the Toolies. And so it was haymakers, fun, exciting race. And, you know, I got to know Cole and his dad, Jim, pretty well. I don't know if you've met those guys, or I got to know those guys really well over the last few years, and went in and congratulated them and talked to Jim for a while. And I tell you what, that 10 car is on a rail right now. And those guys put on a show this weekend, man. And it's you. My big thing with the Challenge Series was the stars were there and they were out. Searing's the champion. Obviously, you got Sam Mars, who's legendary in a legendary car in WISSOTA, and TPO is your reigning national champion. Then you got Zabrowski back there. Provenzino's won a ton of races in a late model. Pat Dorr was there. Moth, Zimpel, Shaw. I mean, you had pretty much Radetsky. They were all there, and that's what we want to see in WISSOTA. We want to see the best series, the fast cars, and all the drivers run this series. So hopefully they can keep it going. I thought the Challenge Series Chris was great to work with. Scott was great to work with. All my employees loved working with it. The one thing, Ryan, I thought they really did a good job with this was help promote the event for these tracks. Chris was constantly emailing me about sponsors, who's sponsoring this show so we can get their name on everything. You know what I mean? So it's good to see them helping a track promote, because that's what we need here in Wissota. So I thought it was great racing, especially Friday and Saturday. And it's good to see the Star Power 46 and 39 late models the first two nights. That's big time, Ryan and Bert.
Yeah, the only guy that wasn't there that surprised me, John Canta, right? A guy that's literally been on, I think, every single tour this year, not following the tour.
Yeah, he wanted to stay local. Chris and Scott both talked about that during their pre-race shows. And he decided he's going to stay local. And hey, John Canta is John Canta. He can do what he wants to do. If he wants to stay local, and like I said, he's got grandkids and he's chasing them around, doing a bunch of stuff. He's been there and done that. So it's cool to see him. I know I had some fans looking forward to seeing Canta back at Viking Speedway, but hey, if he wants to stay local, he can do whatever he wants.
Well, my question is, I mean, you talk about the Star Power being there the first two nights. What happened to some of the drivers the third night?
Well, I mean, let's just be completely honest. It doesn't matter what track it is, right? It could be track A, B, C, D, or E. If you have a night where it's really rough and they struggled last week, cars are staying home, right? And it sounds like a few people had engine issues and there was some other stuff going on as well. I heard somebody said that Sam Mars went home. I saw online it was Mother's Day, so he went home. Didn't want to race on Sunday, so there was that. But I will say, I've been hard on the guy, but the track was definitely better on Sunday than it was the week before. So I mean, I'll give credit where credit's due, but I think that scared him away. So a couple of years back, Grand Rapids Speedway put all brand new clay on, and it was horrible, guys. I mean, literally unbelievably terrible. Cars all four off the ground, and it was like almost to like the end of July before the car counts got back because everybody was afraid to go there. So I guess if you're a promoter, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If the weather's good, you want to race, right? The weather's good, you got to race. Can't cancel. But on the flip side of that, if the track, you got rain all week, the track's not ready, it's soft, you race, you could be cutting your own throats. So either way, somebody's going to be pissed. But good turnaround for them guys over at Granite, at the end of the day. I guess that would be my opinion. I think they were just scared of what they saw on night number one. So let's jump into our, we got some fan feedback here, Coach, brought to you by
Turbine Chassis and Flat Out Performance. Mr. Flatten was in my trailer this weekend. Of course, I'm good friends with him, known him forever. I know they got a couple modifieds out there now. Ryan was out there with his car, had a little bit of issues going on. And so if you make sure you need any fab work done, super stocks, modifieds, Midwest modifieds, get a hold of Jeff Flatten over in Hancock, Minnesota, Turbine Chassis and Flat Out Performance.
Yes, sir. So we got a handful of questions here. And the first one comes from Jen. She's like, I was at the bus races this weekend at Cedar Lake, and she's like, first time there, unbelievable experience. She said, I've never seen so many people at a racetrack in my entire life. Why don't other tracks do things like this? And does anything in the dirt racing world across the country, is there another non-traditional racing event held at a dirt track that even comes close to comparing to what they have going on with the bus races at Cedar Lake?
Well, I've never been to the bus races at Cedar Lake, but I've heard that they pack the place and it's quite a show. So, I'm not exactly sure how to compare to it since I've never been there. I can't think of any events off the top of my head at dirt tracks that compare to that. I mean, this is an asphalt track, Wisconsin International Raceway in Wisconsin. In the fall, it's called the Eve of Destruction, and that's a huge event. In not just for the track, but for the area. I mean, it sells out early. You have to make sure you get your tickets early because otherwise you're not going to get a ticket. So that's the only one that I can think of on this side of the state. I know like Shawano Speedway, they've had trailer races during the fair. And those types of things, and demolition derbies, those types of things fill the grandstand. But as far as just a standalone event, I can't think of one.
I've heard numbers, and I haven't confirmed any of these numbers at all, but I've heard numbers between 12 and 15,000 people in attendance. I mean, I saw some video clips online. I'm like, holy shit. I mean, it makes, I mean, I feel like, and I don't know this for sure, I'd have to talk to them guys, but I feel like there's more people here than there's even at the USA Nationals. It's absolutely mind-boggling. And you think about, they don't basically pay anything out. This is like a massively profitable event. Viking Speedway. There you go. There's an idea.
We've had conversations. I'm super skeptical with the safety concern at Viking Speedway and buses. We're high banked. I mean, how fast is a bus going to be going down the back straightaway at Viking Speedway, Ryan? You know what I mean? So we've talked about it. We've talked about trailer races, and we have a very, very successful demo derby during our fair. The place is jam packed. We pay $4,000 to win the stock big cars, which is a big purse for a demo in our area. And we get the big timers up here. A couple years ago, a guy from Dickinson, North Dakota won it. A guy from Canada won it a few years ago. So that's my thing, is the safety deal. Obviously, we had the tragedy at Cedar Lake a few years ago, and you see that stuff like that. So that's my big thing, and insurance and things like that. And I think that's one of the main reasons, Ryan and Bert, with the bus races, is just a safety concern. You tip a bus over, it ain't like tipping, a little Hornet or a little anything over, really. So they're cool to watch. I saw one in person at Ogilvie a few years ago. One tipped over there, and obviously, and Cedar Lake does it right. They get all these small town schools involved. I got relatives that live in Colfax, Wisconsin. And do you know where Colfax, Wisconsin is, Bert?
I have a general idea.
You got a general idea. Ryan does. Mike Anderson's from Colfax, Wisconsin. He actually used to rent the farm for my aunt and uncle. It's right by Menominee. It's right there by Menominee. So,
that's right.
So my cousin-in-law is Jiggy Sign. So, he's married to my cousin who was from Colfax. So I got some ties over in Wisconsin. They're Vikings fans though, Bert. I claim them as relatives. So they get Colfax. They get all these small communities involved, and the people flock, Ryan and Bert. They come out of the woodworks. I talked to my cousin. They went there a couple years ago. They got there at 4:00. She had to sit on the side hill in front of the stands on the back straightaway because it was already packed. It's just absolutely crazy. So kudos to them. Like I said, we had serious discussions about doing that because we have a bunch of small towns around in our area, and we could do it. So it's a cool deal. I'm glad they do it. But here's the other thing, Ryan, Bert. You're going to get some of those people to come back and watch your normal races. You just are. And you're getting different crowd involved in the races, and that's what we need these days.
Well, isn't the bus races at Cedar Lake, I may be mixing this up with a different track. Aren't they associated with different schools? So then you're drawing, people from those school districts because they want to see how their bus does.
It's an active promoting deal, right? So they go to all these cities, they go to the schools, they get the schools involved. So this is the promoters from Cedar Lake actively going in and getting these people engaged. They paint it up in their school colors, and there's a lot of buy-in from these communities. These communities are coming to see their bus, right? They're not coming to see bus races. They want to see their bus compete against all the other towns. And I think they typically try to get a driver, somebody that's kind of tied in with that town, I think is what they try to do. I'm pretty sure. But I tell you what, unbelievable. Hats off to them guys at the Cedar Lake Speedway. They know what the hell they're doing. When it comes to dirt track racing in the upper Midwest, Cedar Lake is still the place to be for sure. So Joe had a question here as well. Speaking of racing, and this is kind of more directed to you and I, Coach, but his question was, there's a lot of stuff going on in the racing world. You know, people used to race for points. Now there's specials all the time. You see like series, sometimes there's a big car count, sometimes they're not. What is the biggest factor for you? And do you think maybe just in general, when a racer is deciding where they want to race, is it the payout? Is it the track conditions, the fans, the atmosphere, right? What is the biggest factor where a person's racing? And I know for you it's local, you kind of stick, you stay local, but if you were to travel somewhere, if you were to race outside of home, right? If you were to go somewhere, what would be the main draw for the 29 star?
Well, if I'm going to travel, you're looking at payout right away. It's just, especially if you're going, it's like the Little Dream. When I took my street stock, we're going Little Dream because obviously you want to win the big money, but they do a good job actually. I got 1 year, I got 8th place, and I got $300-400 just worth of contingency stuff just for 8th place. You know what I mean? So you can come home with $500, $600, $700, $800. So that to me, if I'm going to travel, you're going to look at the payout and say, hey, what's the top 5? What's a pit pass cost? What's it cost to get in the grandstand? If you got some families coming in there, all that good stuff. But Ryan, that's a really good question. And you just, it's track conditions or facilities, or you know what I mean? There's so much that goes into it these days, and there's so much going on in people's lives. And we always talk about summer sports have really taken off at everything: hockey, basketball, football, anything in the summer, volleyball. I missed Viking Speedway last year. I was at my daughter's softball tournament in Fargo. You know what I mean? Ryan, me and you had never done that back 10, 15, 20 years ago. Bert, you would never miss a race because you had your daughter at a softball game. You're like, yeah, you're going. No, but so to me, it was definitely looking at the person and seeing what it was going to do. And like I said, Ryan, you traveled. I mean, you went to Lisbon on Tuesdays. Okay. Then you remember when Cheyenne River ran on Tuesdays? And you want to talk about conspiracies, Bert. I'm telling you, Lisbon changed to Tuesdays so Ryan Aho could win a national championship. It's a conspiracy deal. So then Ryan would either go to Wilmer or we'd go to Ada and I'd block for him so he could win. We won't talk about that either, Ryan, when I pushed everybody up the hill and Ryan went on to 1. Bert, see, the teammate stuff never happened, Bert. And then you'd go back home, Ryan, and you'd run, Gondik Law or Hibbing and Proctor and and you were running for a national championship, and things were much cheaper back then. But, you were just kind of racing to race. And I think at the end of the day, you look at it now, Ryan, we also did it to support these tracks. We really did. And that's, I ran KRA, either I-94 or Montevideo for basically 10 years. And you kind of become a local down there. So super awesome question. Me, I always looked, hey, what's it pay? Because I'm a family racer. I own my own stuff. I race off winnings and sponsorships, so I got to put money in the checkbook at the end of the night.
Yeah, I think the fan and the atmosphere deal is a big one. Obviously money. I race for points. Hell, I'd race anywhere, anytime if there was a show. I was there for a while. But I remember, I had a choice between going to Cedar Lake and other places. Well, back in the day, I wanted to go to Cedar Lake, and let's face it, Cedar Lake paid like shit. They paid terrible back then. I remember racing super stocks, guys, and people are like, Cedar Lake's the Mecca, right? Well, they paid great, like for 1st, 2nd, and maybe 3rd. But then from 4th on back, it was like among the worst paying racetracks in Wissota. It was terrible, right? But if you went and you won at the Cedar Lake Speedway in front of a packed house, it didn't matter what you got paid, because all the glory you got and all the, all the recognition and all the pats on the back telling you how fast you were and all that. It's like, well, holy shit, that's even better than the payout. Not that I'm giving the check back. So I think there's a lot to be said for racing in front of an energetic, passionate, big fan base too. So that is a good question, Joe, and there's a lot to it. So, right, if you're listening to this, if you're watching, if you race, what is it that draws you? Put in the comments below. What is it that draws you to a track? Is it just pay? Is it more than that? We'd love to hear from some other people as well. So Billiam talked on the interview a little bit ago with me and Changa. We talked about the two drivers have been disqualified in like literally the first 2 weeks for RPM violations, soft touch box not hooked up, or rev chip wrong, or whatever it may be. Modified this weekend, Eric Lamb at Princeton. And, as far as I know, simple mistake, just didn't have it hooked up. It is what it is. It's Princeton, so you're not going very fast. It's a small racetrack, and you're probably not getting a bunch of RPMs anyway. But the question is this: 30-day suspension and $1,000 fine for this violation. Is that too excessive, Coach?
Yeah, it 100% is. I think your next topic's going to be the pay your way out deal. Because now you have an option. You can take your 30 days and your $1,000 fine. You have to pay that $1,000 before you race again and sit 30. Now you have the buyout option, which is $2,000, I believe. And I know the question was, are they doing that just because everybody's got money and they're trying to get more money? I think that has a part to do with it. But I really think, Bert and Ryan, with the car counts these days, they don't want to lose a driver for 30 days. And it's harsh these days. You know what I mean? All of a sudden you lose a couple guys for 30 days. Some of these tracks, they're going to be down on car counts big time. So I think that's one thing they're watching too. And, I think they're obviously looking for more money, more fine money. There's no doubt about that too. So some of these rules, it's 30 days and 1,000 sometimes if you don't have a wheel sticker or if you have a traction control. You know what I mean? Like, hold on here a sec. We need to revamp some of this stuff. And, the dope and tire deal was something we discussed at the WSOTA deal. You don't have there's just some stuff that we need to relook at, but definitely too harsh. And that's my opinion on the buyout deal too, is I think there's a couple scenarios that lead up to that.
So here's something. So if you're a promoter or if you're a driver, reach out to WSOTA. If you think this is too harsh, I do. I think that the RPM deal should be just like being light at the scales. You're disqualified for the night. Okay. Pretty simple. Move on. Call it a day. I don't think it should be 30 and 1,000. If you agree with that, right, go ahead and reach out to somebody on the tech committee, reach out to Pagonis or Billy or whoever it may be, Nate at Ogilvy, and let them know, hey, I guess, a rule's a rule, but let's look at the penalty on this. Is a penalty fitting the crime? This doesn't really make a lot of sense. Now, Bert, the double buyout deal is this. So in a scenario in WSOTA where there's a 30-day suspension and $1,000 fine, there's an opportunity for a driver to pay double that money, so pay double the fine, and they're no longer suspended. They're DQ'd for the night. They can go racing literally the next day. That's obviously what Eric Lamb did because he was in Ogilvy on Saturday. The question from Jim here is this: is the double fine option really just a permission slip to cheat for people that have money because they're not racing for points anyway, so they can just cheat as all they want and then just buy their way out of it? Your thoughts?
Well, it definitely, gives them the penalty is not as harsh if you have the money to pay the double fine because, it's okay. I got caught. I'll pay it. It definitely hurts the little guy, so to speak, in racing because they don't, you shouldn't be cheating, but then if, that's a whole nother topic, but, if financially strapped race team gets caught cheating, they can't afford to pay the double fine, so they're going to sit. So it hurts them more than it hurts the higher funded teams.
Yeah, and I see Coach's opinion on this, right? 30-day suspension. Nobody wants to lose cars, right? Car counts are down. You don't want to lose cars, but you can't put the people that have money that aren't racing for points. You can't just put them at an advantage either. So I guess we'd like to hear your opinion on this one too, right? Let us know what you think on this double fine deal. Let us know what you think on the penalty here, 30 days and 1,000 for an RPM violation. Let us know what you think, and if that's excessive, we'd love to hear from you. All right, guys, let's jump into the next topic here. We're going to bring it back. Who's hot and who's not? Coach, brought to you by the editor of our show,
Elevate-Visual Video Production. Make sure you got it. If you need any video work done, any drone work done, real estate video done, get a hold of Brandon at elevate-visual.com. That's his website. He's got a Facebook page. He does my production for Viking Speedway. He was up in I-94 already this year. He does the Boone Super Nationals. He does the Wissota 100. He was down in Florida this year. He was down in Arizona this year. He's awesome at video production. So make sure if you need anything done, get a hold of Brandon at elevate-visual.com.
You just never know where he might end up. He does a great job. I've seen some of his work. So let's start with you, Coach. Pick a couple drivers, 1, 3, 5, however many you want. Who's hot?
Well, obviously, we already talked about the 10-car and Cole Searing. Definitely the Ty Egan's hot right now. And local Midwest mod driver right now, Corey Stork in the 57 is hot right now. Picked off a couple wins last weekend and did great Midwest mod race at Viking Speedway again. He went roasting in on the high side and then got another win. So Corey Stork's off to a hot start right now. It's just good to see. We talked about Caden Blazer a little bit there, the young kid. He's fast anywhere right now. Man, does he drive that car hard for a young kid. I haven't seen a young kid like that drive a car. I mean, that thing is, he looks like a young, I can't say young. Can we say young Ryan Ahol? Or a young Coach Kraus? That's like ages ago, Bert.
Well, he's literally, right? He's literally less than a third of our age. He's 15. I want to turn freaking 50 this year, for fuck's sakes.
So yeah, I'm just impressed with how hard he drives the car and the car control. He doesn't. Yeah, he's a young kid. You're gonna wreck some stuff too. So, but good to see a lot of these drivers off to a hot start in Wissota. A national scene I didn't watch much this past weekend. It's kind of right now, kind of the same old kind of guys with the national scene. We're still waiting for another new guy to hop up. We talk about RTJ's hot because he tested during all those shows. Like I said, when he wasn't very good, he was testing. He races all the time. You talk about why the Illinois guys struggled. They don't race all the time. So they're going to be not hot because they just race locally. And when the big boys come to town, they mop up on them. So guys that race all the time are going to be hot at that. That's my hot and the not on the national scene. You race all the time. You go to the slow races. You're doing the Lucas races. You're doing the Woo races. You're going to be hot. If you're going to be a part-time racer and think you're going to compete with the Lucas and the World Outlaws, you're not hot.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
Bert, who's hot? Who do you got?
Well, I just have to say, but not all the Illinois drivers that were racing this past weekend are part-time local racers. Bobby Pierce didn't do anything. Brandon Shepard races all over the place, and he didn't do a whole lot. So
those guys don't count, Bert. They're on the national scene. We're talking about the Fegers and the Babs and the Unzickers and the Gundakers and the Shirley, guys like that. The Pierce and those guys, they're different. They're just they're national guys. We're talking local guys, Bert. Like if they show up to Wisconsin, it'd be Troy Springborn and Pete Parker and all those guys, right? That used to be fast back in the day. So that
I'm gonna tell Troy that he's not fast anymore.
So who is fast, Bert? Who do you got on the hot list?
Hot list. Nationally, I'll go with driver that we had a discussion earlier this season about whether we should be worried about him, but Brad Sweet is putting it together now. He won 3 in a row, and I think he was second last night, wasn't he?
He wasn't on the podium last night.
Oh, okay. Anyway, well, he had 3 victories in a row. So he's definitely finding his stride. And locally, there wasn't a lot of racing this past weekend, but I'll go with Kyle Frederick. He's IMCA stock car driver. He won 3 races Saturday night at Shawano. He won his heat race. He won the feature, which was a 1200 to win feature because it was a first race of a 4-race series in the Too Tough to Tame series being run at Shawano Speedway. And so they had a 6-for-6 dash at the end of the night for the IMCA stock cars, and he won that also, which was 300 to win. So he pocketed $1,500 this past Saturday.
Nice. So I mean, the easy ones you guys both touched on a few of them. I mean, the easy one, we talked about him, RTJ, that's like low lying fruit, right? That don't count. But in the late models, in the national late model scene, there is a guy that we haven't talked about, Devin Moran. Devin Moran had a great speed weeks. He typically does. He's usually good down in Florida. But guys, he's been consistently putting it together. This is about the deepest into the season where he's kind of consistently battling for wins. Of course, he won at Fairbury Saturday night. Devin Moran is, I don't want to say he's locked into the top 4 because there's a lot of racing left, but he's pretty solidly putting himself into that final 4 conversation. And as consistent as he is from quarter-mile tracks all the way up to like the big half miles, he's a guy, right? As good as RTJ is, Devin Moran is a guy that could upset the apple cart at the end of the year when they have the final countdown of them 7 races. On the local level, we'll go with Moz, kind of semi-local level. Keep an eye. We got a big race coming up here in a couple of weeks. The big deal, 100,001 to win Mississippi Thunder. That local contingent down there of modified drivers, I would take the drivers that call Mississippi Thunder and Deer Creek. They call that home. I would put those modified drivers up against any modified driver at any place in the entire country. Jim Chisholm, Brandon Davis, Jake Tim, Dustin Sorensen, Lucas Schott. Tell you what, those guys are going to make some noise at that big deal, and they're definitely on that hot list. Brandon Davis, I mean, he's like top 2 every single night. On the local level, on the Wissota type level, I'm going to go Lucas Rodin. He got a pair of wins this past weekend. A guy that didn't get any wins, but kind of caught my eye a pair of seconds, this kid by the name of Ryan Putnam. He ran really well in the Midwest Mod at Princeton and then again at Ogilvy. Keep an eye on him. And I got to give a shout out to Sam Mars. From where he was last year, and he ran pretty well last year, guys, I'm telling you what, I am highly impressed with the development of Sam Mars. Like, he is so aggressive now, right? It's kind of funny because let's face it, Jimmy Mars was aggressive. I mean, he wasn't afraid to, he old school super stock guy. He'd elbow you if he needed to. But the fact is, Jimmy was a little bit butthurt there with Glenn's, and there might have been other shit behind the scenes that we don't know about, but kind of about the sliders and all that. Sam Mars is throwing frickin' haymakers night after night. Now, they're clean. He's clearing them, right? But he's aggressive. He's found speed. Sam Mars is really developing into one of the top tier late model drivers in our area. Pretty exciting to see. So, gentlemen, who's not? Now, guys, Kraus, I don't know if you know this or not, but typically you got to be careful because when we say somebody's on the not hot list, they usually come back win next week. So if you don't like a person, you probably don't want to put them on this list because you don't want them to win. I'm just saying. So you got to be careful with that. That's how we roll here on the One to Go show. So, Coach, who's not?
Oh boy, you're throwing me for a curveball here because I don't really have. It's really early in the year, but if you want to hit you want to hit the national scene, to me it's got to be Brandon Shepard. I just don't. Way too high expectations hopping in that Longhorn house car. You'd think he'd probably be close to pushing double-digit wins right now, and I think they're struggling. I really do, and I think he's the one guy that can throw a curveball in with all this stuff. He is on the World Outlaw Tour, so he's going to be racing against Bobby Pierce all the time and Madden. Those top guys are really good. They're obviously are at the Lucas too. So, my national guy not hot right now. I have to go with Brandon Shepard.
Bert, who's not?
I could go just because it's only 1 week, but this might be the only week you could put Bobby Pierce on the not hot list. He had a very bad week, but overall for total body of work, I would have to say Turbo right now. I just expect it. I mean, he's running like 11th or so in points in the Lucas series. You know, I guess I just expect a little bit more out of him.
So I got a couple here on the national level. I'm going Hudson O'Neal, right? I mean, he leads Rocket One, arguably one of the best, if not the best late model team in the country, has his own team. And guys, let's just face it, he's a non-factor right now. Hudson O'Neal went from a contender to win everything, Lucas Oil champion, won the Dirt Track World Championship last year, and now I don't know. I mean, I'm going to put the over and under for the rest of the year from this point on till the end of the year for Hudson O'Neal on podium finishes. And I'm going to put that number, guys, at 7 overall podium finishes for Hudson O'Neal from now till the end of the year. Are you guys taking the over or under on Hudson O'Neal at 7 podiums?
I'll take the over.
Coach?
Podium finishes? This sounds like a Burt bold prediction kind of thing. Kind of soft, Burt, if you ask me.
I said over.
Boy, you know, I'm going with the under, Ryan. I don't see it. I really don't. I don't. You know, because you're getting to this stage here. Once you hit Eldora, it's all big shows. For the most part. I mean, obviously they get some, but there's a lot of big shows right in a row, back to back. You know, you might get a little weekly show or they come up this way or wherever they go. But you know, I'm going with the under.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm taking the under as well. Now, I hope it's the over. I'm a Hudson O'Neal fan. I like watching him. Plus, he's got the best number in racing. It's a 71. Just needs an A on there to be faster. Also, I'm going to go Rico Abreu. I mean, he went last year as one of the top, I mean, like in every conversation for wins, and he has literally been on the struggle bus, Rico. And then how about the Double One Express, the old gunslinger, Pat Dorr? I mean, he come out night number 1, got second, and has literally just been absolutely non-existent from that point forward. And let's face it, some of them young guns are getting faster. He's coming back now. He's going to probably be up at the Gonda Claw Speedway on Friday. But I got to be honest, I expected a lot more out of Pat Dorr this past weekend, and a little bit concerned to see if the old Double One Express is going to find his way back to the front and stack some wins. All right, guys. So let's move on from that. Let's go to just our final tidbits, right? I mean, we touched on a lot. We touched on the top 5 moments. We touched on some races, who's hot, who's not. Is there anything else from either one of you as far as this past weekend or past week that maybe we haven't touched on, that maybe needs a shout out, maybe something that caught your eye that we haven't touched on yet? So, Bert, let's start with you.
Yeah, I want to talk about the late model feature at Shawano Speedway. Chris Ortel, who is a loyal listener to the show, led the first 16 laps of the race, and then caution came out. I mean, without the caution, Ortel wins that race easily. I mean, there's no doubt about it. On the restart, Ron Berna, who has, I lost count, he has at least 10 late model track championships at Shawano Speedway, so he knows how to get around that track. Started in 3rd place, so he was on the outside. And on the restart, he got a good start. Got alongside Ortel on the front stretch. They actually made a little bit of contact on the front stretch, and Berna was able to power in front of Ortel heading into turn 1. And then once in the lead, Berna just pulled away. And I talked to Chris Ortel after the race, and you know, obviously he was disappointed that he didn't get the victory, but you know, he said it was a veteran move by Berna. You know, Berna knows how to get around that track. And I also talked to Berna after the race to get his side of everything, and he said, well, I guess I just timed it right, and I got a good start. And you know, I mean, actually when I went up to Berna to talk to him, he goes, this was unexpected. You know, he didn't expect to win that race. He thought that he would finish 3rd. And so overall, it was a good finish to the race, and you know, which is good to see. Some excitement in the division.
Yeah, nothing against Berna, right? I made some laps against him, but I mean, I kind of wanted the former Silver 1000 winner to take home that victory, and all that Chris Ortel, but it's coming. He's won a lot of races in street stocks, modifieds. He's gonna get some wins for sure.
Mhm.
Anything else that stuck out, or should we jump on
Oh.
the crowd? Go ahead, Bert.
I have one more thing about Ortel. He wasn't even supposed to be racing at Channel Speedway because he was going to go to Plymouth Dirt Track and race in the 6for6 deal. And he said that they left the shop Saturday afternoon, and he said the trailer just wasn't pulling right. So they pulled over, and here the trailer brakes were sticking, and the smoke was rolling off the brakes. So they went back to the shop and fixed that, and they didn't have enough time to get to Plymouth, so they came to Shawano instead.
Shit, that would have been even cooler to get a win after a little adversity, but overall
Right.
a good night for the 51 there. Of course, his dad won a lot of races back in the day too, Butch Ortel. Coach, what stuck out to you this past week, and anything that we haven't touched on yet?
Got a couple shutouts here. Want to touch base. Had a chance to meet David Simpson at came to the Viking Speedway on Saturday night. Had a great run. He got fourth. Ryan, you know as well. Bert, just to give you a little tidbit, Ryan Aho, the great Ryan Aho, has never won a feature race at Viking Speedway. So I bring that up to him all the time. He went 19th to second one night. That's his claim to fame. Bert, I went 21st to third that night. So we actually had that in video, and I followed Ryan right to the front. It was a super fun race. I know, Ryan, we talk about that all the time. That was a blast, and Ryan got a little cocky and pulled up next to Dan Ziesen, and he couldn't get it done, Bert. So David Simpson, shout out to him. Thanks for coming down and running the Viking Speedway. He was thrilled to death, and he goes, "God, the driver's getting free here, and plus you gave me a coupon for free $10 at the concession stand." So he was thrilled to death, and for that, got to give a shout out. I made this bold prediction last year. I don't know if you remember. I said that Bailey Roche would get a feature win away from Viking Speedway. He did that Friday night at Fiesta City Speedway in the Super Stocks, destroyed his car, and literally they wrecked that thing in Fergus on Saturday night. His dad and they've got that thing fixed. He looked very good in that Super Stock at Fiesta City, so shout out to him. Another thing, I know, Ryan, you touched base on Sam Mars. Viking Speedway can be very intimidating. He took the bull by the horns at Viking Speedway, Sam Mars did. And if you would have seen his qualifying lap at Viking, and he was all out by himself, he was absolutely flying. And people were in awe how fast he was flying around. And it's a half mile. I don't even want to. Those guys are averaging 95, 96 averaging. I don't even want to know what they were going down that back straightaway. So shout out to him. I talked to Jimmy a little bit. He won a WDRL race back in the day at Viking in the Fall Classic. So shout out to him. Thanks for those guys coming over. It's huge to have those Mars guys supporting these local tracks. You can say what it is, going to wherever they went. The fans all know the Mars car, the yellow 28 or the white 28. So that was cool. And then I gotta give a shout out. Talk about, I had a radio DJ at the track on Saturday, Bert and Ryan from Kick FM. Thanks for them sending out a DJ. He had no clue about racing. First time he'd really ever been to one. So I need to thank Jason Tennis, Mike Stearns, and Shane Sabraski. He went up there and interviewed him. Now, he had help with my announcer, Shane Henrich and Corey Litton. They interviewed Shane. I don't know if you saw that video, Ryan, the interview. And Jason Tennis and Mike Stearns. Drivers, it is I know Shane gets interviewed all the time. Drivers, it's absolutely crucial that you do these interviews so these fans can have an interaction with you. They want to hear your thoughts. Like Shane Zabrowski talked about his first ever late model win, and then Mike Stearns was over here, and obviously everybody knows JT in town. So a shout out to the drivers for doing these interviews. The fans love it. The people love it. They love the interaction. They want to see drivers and they want to see the interaction. And that's what we need to keep this sport alive and keep building. So I got to give a shout out to all those drivers at Viking. Ryan Michelson did the candy toss. He gave away a door. He had his car on display. he did an absolute wonderful job interacting with fans. So drivers, wherever you're at, whatever track you're at, get out there, interact with these fans, do your interviews, and do all that good stuff. It was great to see those guys do that.
Absolutely. And that's what makes racing stand apart from a lot of sports is you actually have that opportunity for that fan driver interaction. So take advantage of that. I have a few shout outs here as well. Third generation driver Cade Nelson, 4 in a row for the 14-year-old in the USRA late models. That kid is flat out on a roll. And I talked to Changa, and he said he was talking to his dad, Daryl. Daryl, not quite ready to get rolling yet. Cars are down at MB. He said he's having a lot of fun watching Cade right now. So, Daryl, get back in a race car because we have fun watching both of you. So there is that. Rob Cahoe Jr., first ever winner of the High Rollers non-winged sprint car tour at the Hamilton County Speedway there in Iowa. Robbie, a good buddy of mine. Great to see him park in Victory Lane. River City Speedway. So I don't know if did you guys watch the late model feature across? Did you see anything at River Cities? So Cowboy Up rained, right? They kind of had a rough racetrack, and Brody Troftgruben, when the track's got a little grip in it, he's really good. He checked out very, very fast. Congrats to him. But the race, there was a really good race between two people that absolutely do not like each other. Dustin Strand, Lance Schill were absolutely just battling it out. Strand absolutely KO'd a parked car. They come off at turn 2. Somebody crossed it up, broke in front of him, and he hit him freaking wide open. Ended his night, right? Might have had a shot at the win. But great rebound. He went over to Devil's Lake. I think it was his 30th career NLRA late model A-main win. Won the opening night and put himself in the driver's seat to maybe go after another NLRA championship. Did you guys happen to see any of the drama? I mean, we like to talk about some of the legends, right? Billy Moyer, one of the best all time, auditioning for Grumpy Old Men 3. Him and Ashton Winger, they're not on each other's Christmas card list. They had a double header at Batesville this past weekend in Arkansas, the Bad Boy 98. Night number 1, Billy Moyer squeezed Winger right into the fence. Just stuffed him coming up down the back straightaway. Winger went over, got in his car. He's chewing the guy out, right? The next night, another altercation, and Moyer's literally like driving into him over and over and over on the yellow. And finally, Billy Moyer, Mr. Smooth, kicked off the racetrack for rough driving, unsportsmanlike. Billy, come on now. Come on. You're better than that. He's one of the best ever. But Kraus, have you ever had any of those moments where maybe you did or should have gotten the boot for maybe being a little bit aggravated behind the wheel?
I was pretty, when the yellows, I did a couple love taps under yellow. I've never done nothing crazy like that under yellow, or hopped on a four-wheeler and beeline across the track under yellow or red flag or anything like that. I have done love taps. As I got older, you realize that there's safety workers on the track, and there's, you got to be super careful and watch that stuff. You don't want to play demo derby during the green flag, please. But Billy Moyer anywhere he goes, he should have an exemption. Okay, because what are you going to say to Billy Moyer? How do you chirp Billy Moyer? Well, you call him old? He's going to be like, go look at my trophy room, buddy. I mean, like Ashton Winger's got come on, you know what I mean? It's so he should get him and Bloomquist should get an exemption. They can do whatever they want. It's free for all. You can do whatever you want.
It seems like the common denominator in this deal is Ashton Winger. I mean, after all, he did get sent to jail one night for getting into it with G.R. Smith or whatever, him and his dad. So probably more on the Winger side of this. I'm just saying, right? Ogilvy Raceway, guys, we didn't talk anything about that. They had some good racing, some pretty interesting stuff. Street stock race, Keith Turville, half a track ahead, gone, over. Takes a white flag down the middle of the back straightaway. I think he blew an engine, and he coasted across the line, but not before little Pagonis snuck by him and parked it in Victory Lane. Dexton Cook got 2 wins on the weekend. Last corner pass there on Dennis Zeck. He actually snuck by him. Zeck bobbled a little bit in 3 and 4. And probably one of the best races overall of the weekend, especially in the modifieds, Did you watch that race between Ryan Gerke and Jody Belfi? They swapped the lead like 8 or 9 times. Like Gerke was throwing haymaker sliders. He was crossing them over. Finally, Gerke went on to win his second of the weekend. So good racing over at the Big O. 2024 Pick'ems, boys, brought to you by Brad Parson. Brad Parson Soil and Ag Solutions. So planting season is here. If you're in western Minnesota, the Dakotas, if you're looking to be more profitable, have higher yields, you're going to want to give Brad a call at 320-219-3542 and get some information on the products that he has that you can mix with your current spray packages to give you better results. Now, Brad has also partnered up with me, Brad Parsons Soil and Ag Solutions and Impact Health Sharing, as far as a sponsorship program goes. So if you're a racer out there, if you want to be eligible, get a One to Go Show sticker on the car. You can get them from Kraus. Reach out to one of us. We can get them to you. And we're gonna draw out somebody. We're not gonna draw out somebody. The winner of the Pick'ems contest is going to get to pick the driver that the One to Go Show, Brad Parsons Soil and Ag Solution, and Impact Health Sharing, we're gonna sponsor them for the following season for 2025. So to be eligible, get a sticker on the car, send it to us, tag us, Facebook, however, so we know that you're eligible. Now, this past week we had a little bit of moving and shaking. Good Jeff, plus 12. He's been a cellar dweller basically for a while. Plus 12 for him. The guys that are number 1 and number 2 in the Pick'ems right now, Curtis and Changa, both plus 11. Bert, plus 9. Coach, you and Bromance there, plus 8. Man Bun Dan, plus 6. Worker B and Dan at plus 5. And what the fuck? I told you I suck at this deal. I am absolutely plus 4. I'm terrible. I am horrible. I'll be the first one to admit it. I suck at this deal, but it just is what it is. So our points right now, got a little shake up here too. Curtis leading at 110, Changa 105, and we got a little change there. We got new guy Kenny there at 88, kind of slid in, took over a spot. Bert at 86, Coach at 83. Me and Dan are at 81. Worker B at 78, Good Jeff at 73, and it's official. Bromance has caught Man Bun Dan, and they are tied at 64. So Bromance having a bromance with Man Bun Dan, kind of make a cute couple there down in the cellar. Upcoming events that we're going to pick. Before we get into that, shout out Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. So Buck, the founder of this company, in the Hall of Fame for NASA. He's in the Hall of Fame specifically for lubricants, a ton of great products. Check them out on Facebook, check them out online. They got gear oils, oil, assembly lube. I mean, all kinds of stuff, tire treatments, tire cleaners, you name it. Their goal is to help save people money, make stuff last longer, get more life out of the things that you already have. And to learn more about that, call Chad, 507-828-3536 at Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. So, guys, I'm going to name off the races here, and then you guys go ahead, quickly shout out who you have this coming weekend. World of Outlaw Late Models, 4-night swing up in the Northeast. Thursday, Raceway 7 up in Conneaut, Ohio. Friday, Bedford, Pennsylvania. Saturday, Marion Center, Pennsylvania. Sunday, Path Valley Speedway in Spring Run, Pennsylvania. 4 nights of action for the World of Outlaw Late Models. Coach Kraus, who do you have?
I got Pierce all 4 nights.
Well, you can't fucking do that. What are you doing? All 4 nights. What are we talking about? Okay, Bert, who do you got?
First 2 nights, Pierce. The next 2 nights, Huffman.
All right, so I did what Kraus did, but a different guy. I took 4 nights. The Thrill from Mooresville, Nick Hoffman. All right, Hunt the Front Late Models. They're racing Friday and Saturday, Meridian, Mississippi, at the Why Not Motorsports Park. Coach, who do you got?
Overton both nights.
Cody Overton. All right. Brandon Overton. All right, for Coach Kraus. Bert, who do you got?
Big Sexy both nights.
I took Turbo, Tyler Erb both nights. A little quarter-mile bull ring down there. He's going to upset the apple cart. Turbo's going to park it in Victory Lane. Obviously, I'm right because I'm really good at this. We just talked about that. High limit sprint cars. So they ran Monday at Kokomo. That's already done. It's Tuesday. We're doing the show now. Should be up Wednesday, hopefully, maybe Thursday. So Kokomo, they ran Monday. Thursday, they're at Outlaw Speedway in Dundee, New York. And Friday at Utica Rome Speedway in Vernon, New York. Saturday show at Fonda has canceled. They just sounds like they don't have things ready to go. So first of all, who did you guys pick on Monday, and who do you have on Thursday and Friday for the high limit 410 sprint cars? Coach Kraus.
Well, I had the horse jockey Kyle Larson on last night. He was in like the double Z main. I know what happened. I think he had bad luck in the heater, so I missed the heats. And then I have Brad Sweet. Is it Thursday, right? Friday, correct?
Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, I got Sweet on Thursday and Sweet on Friday.
Bert.
Larson ×3.
Larson ×3. Okay, I don't even know if he's going to be there Thursday, Friday. I sure hope not.
It's on his schedule, so
that's bullshit. I hope he doesn't show up. All right. So we all had Larson, and he rolled in the heat race, incidentally. So that ended his night. And I have Sweet, just like Coach Kraus on Thursday and Friday, the big cat, Brad Sweet. Somebody's calling me here. I'm not sure who, but we'll get back to you after the show. World of Outlaw Sprint Cars, Friday at Attica, Saturday at the Sharon Speedway in Hartford, Ohio. Coach Kraus.
I'm going with the hot shoe right now, Mr. David Gravel, both nights.
David Gravel. Bert.
Friday night, Johnny Schatz. Saturday night, the Wild Child, Hoddenchild.
All right, I'm going with Buggy Bobby Sheldon Hoddenchild ×2 on his home turf there in Ohio. And then the US MTS Modifieds at the RPM Speedway, Crandall, Texas, Friday and Saturday. Coach.
Rodney Sanders, both nights.
Rocket Rodney, your reigning US MTS national champion. Bert.
Tim ×2.
All of us different here because I took Chonga Balkan Township. I mean, Jim Chisholm ×2. So we got all three different drivers. Gondik Law Speedway for our Nova Soda specials this weekend. So we're going to go ahead pick Gondik Law Speedway on Friday. Late models, modified, super stocks, and Midwest mods. Coach Kraus.
Well, I got to stick with this because it's my bold prediction. Sabraski, and Cody Carlson in the Midwest mods.
Okay. All right. Sabraski, we'll see if he brings all three. That'll be interesting. Bert, who do you got?
Burdick, Brendan Kopp, Mackey, and C. Carlson.
Who was the second one? Burdick who?
First one was Burdick.
And then who in the mod?
Brandon Kopp.
Oh, Brandon Kopp. Okay, yep. And then who?
Mackey.
Okay.
And then C. Carlson.
Andrew Mackey and Cody Carlson. All right. I am taking the Dirty 30, taking my boy Kevin Burdick. I'm going to take Sabraski in the modifieds, and I'm going Team Canada for the other two. Not sure if they're going to be there. Probably not because I picked them. Cole Chernosky in the super stocks, David Simpson in the Midwest modifieds. All right, gentlemen. Our final segment of the show here. 3 bold predictions. We make 3 predictions. Sometimes bold, sometimes Bert makes the pick or prediction. So that's usually not so bold. And we keep track of our statistics here. And we'll start with what came off the board. This past weekend, Bert. Oh, not a good weekend for you. So your first one here. Non-Lucas Oil late model regulars would win all the Lucas Oil features. That did not happen. You said #Falls. All Illini on the podium. Not even close. Shawano late model is kind of a bad beat right here. Shawano late models would have a first-time winner. Probably should have just said there's going to be a first-time winner this weekend. Shawano, you would have had it, but nope.
I was too bold.
You were too bold. You were. So Kraus, you heard that here first. Coach Kraus, you had 3 come off the board, all incorrect. Donnie Schatz is going to cut the point lead in half for the World of Outlaws. Didn't get any help because a couple of them canceled, but that did not happen. You said there would be 6 different drivers that represent podium finishes in the WISSOTA Late Model Challenge Series, Friday and Saturday. That did not happen. And you said this Bert is the bad beat of the week. 40 plus late models at Fergus and Viking. 46 at Fergus, spot on. 39 at Viking. Ouch. Ouch. All right.
I got screwed by the Canadian smoke. Edgington's on my list. He told Steppen and everybody he was coming. And that's what I think of Canada. It's the reason why Minnesota's so smoky right now is because of Canada, and that's what I get, I guess.
Yep, fair enough. You're not wrong there. All right, so I had a couple come off the board here as well. I said Garrett Alberson, who's been red hot, is going to have 2 podiums this week. Well, I didn't get any help because the first 2 nights rained out. Then he got a podium, and then he did not. So he was 1 for 2. Good weekend, but he did not get 2, so that was wrong. And then I said there would be at least 2 former Superstock drivers in the top 5 at all 3 WISSOTA Late Model Challenge Series events this past weekend, and sure as shit there was, and there was more than 2 in several of those features as well. Kraus, we know what's up. Superstock drivers, you want to be great Superstock drivers, that's where you start, and then you go on to the late models when you get a little older. All right. Good Jeff here, or maybe we'll call him Newbert. I'll call him Newbert because I don't know about the boldness of these predictions. World of Outlaw regulars would have more podium finishes than the Posse. The Posse's kind of been non-existent this year. Like, they're just kind of not there. So the World of Outlaw, in that one night, because 2 of them rained out, they swept the podium. So that was right. Should give him a half a point. He said non-Illinois drivers would have more podium finishes than the Illini drivers. Only 1 on the podium, 5 were non-Illini, so that was correct. World of Outlaw buggies would have more top 5s than the Illinois late models. 4-3. He was right on that one as well. So a sweep there for good Jeff, maybe Newbert, whatever we want to call him. Peanut Gallery had 2 come off the board. This was represented by Kent. Bobby Pierce going to podium every feature that he races in this weekend. Well, that did not happen. And he also said TPO would have podiums in all the Challenge Series races. 2 out of 3, night number 1, not so good for the 1 TPO, but he did end on a big note. All right, guys. So our standings right now, we keep track of correct predictions and we keep track of percentage. Good Jeff, Newbert, whatever you want to call him, he's got the resounding lead in both of these categories. I don't know how that happened. He's got 14 correct predictions. Peanut Gallery at 9.5, Bert's at 9, and me and Kraus are at 7. As far as percentages go, he's got 32.6 correct percentage. Peanut Gallery at 28.8, and I'm at 20, and Bert and Kraus are a little bit below me. So good Jeff leading the way in both categories. That's our statistician there. So we'll make 3 laps around the track. We're going to start with Kraus. We'll go to Bert. Then I got good Jeff, Kenny, and myself to round things out. Coach Kraus, what is your first prediction of the week?
I'm going with the 7A, Mr. Shane Sabraski, who I sat with at the pit meeting at Viking, so maybe have some inside information here, because that's what you need to do. I'm a reporter. You know, you're Stephen A. Smith, white Stephen A. Smith over there. You just jab, okay? I'm out beating the streets, walking around during the pit meeting, talking to all these guys. Sounds like he may have that super out this weekend. His first ever 3-peat. He's going to win all 3. He's never done it. Obviously, he hasn't done it in a late model. Maybe he did it. He might have done it. Did he do it with his Midwest mod, super in his mod? He probably did, huh?
Knowing him, he probably did, and he probably won go-karts and iRacing and all that day too.
Yeah.
So he probably did.
So I'm going. He's winning all 3 this weekend: the late model, the modified, and the super at Gondik Law.
At Gondik Law, all right, 7-8. He's good there. There's no question. All right, Bert, your first prediction.
I'll go World of Outlaw sprint cars and say Donnie Schatz will be on the podium both nights.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Donnie Scott's on the podium both nights. Hopefully Gravel is not, so he can cut into that point lead. Would be good. All right. New Bert here. I mean, good Jeff. Sheldon Hodenschild is going to sweep the Ohio Knights. There's 2 nights of racing action for the World of Outlaw Sprints. Sheldon Hodenschild going to win both of them. All right. Kenny here. Hunt the front late models down in Meridian, Mississippi at Why Not? Both nights, the same drivers will be on the podium both nights. So the top 3 will be the same, maybe not the same order, but they'll all be the same. 3 drivers will have podium finishes. All right. My first one. So is it fair to say that every once in a while somebody's kind of got shit luck in the heat race? They come back and they, kind of move up through the field and make it happen. That happens, right? Coach Kraus gonna score a top 10 feature in the makeup feature for the Superstock despite not running the heat race. I mean, I'd do top 8, but according to Jeff, he probably fucked that up. So,
well, it's about as worst I can get, right?
All right.
That's a Bert or a good Jeff bold prediction right there.
All right, we'll take that one off the board. All right. Turbo Tyler Erb is going to win at least one this weekend at Why Not? Turbo is going to win at least one at Why Not? All right. Coach Kraus.
I switched this one up because it's still super bold, but I changed it up with my Bobby Pierce prediction here. He's going to be on he's slumping right now, man, especially on his home turf. Made a Facebook post. Car's not right. We'll get her figured out. I'm going Bobby Pierce is going 4 for 4 for podium finishes this weekend. Bert over there, he's going 2 for 2 with shots. It's like, come on. Well, like Donnie Shots, podium. I'm going 4 nights in a row, 4 podiums. That's what I'm doing with Bobby Pierce.
In case of inclement weather, are you going to go with 100% of his shows will be on the podium?
I'm going to go 3 for 3. I won't if they only do 2 and he's on 2, that don't count. Does that make sense?
Okay.
2 for 2 is that's sissy stuff. 2 for 2 is sissy stuff. So I'm going.
I like it. That's bold. He's going big. He's going
3.
big time here. All right, going big. Got to have at least 3 races to make this one count. All right, Bert. What say you?
I'll go World of Outlaw late models, and I will say there will be only 2 drivers who win features.
Only 2 winners. Yeah, probably only gonna be 2 nights and 2 rain out. Boy, that's bold. That's a tip. Bert's back. Coach, Bert's back. Hey, Bert's back here. All right, fair enough. All right, we got good Jeff here. Kevin Burdick will not podium at Superior on Friday, but in all the other races that he competes in this weekend, he will finish on the podium in all of the other features that he competes in. So no podium at Superior, but podiums in whatever other races he's in. I got to be honest, I think that's the flip side. That's his best track. So that definitely is kind of bold right there. All right, Kenny's got a parlay here. World of Outlaw late models. Different winners on every night that they race this weekend. Each night will have a different winner. There will be no repeat winners this weekend. And at least 50% of the podiums on those nights that happen out there will be non-tour regulars. So non-World of Outlaw tour drivers, at least 50% of the podiums will be them. You know, one thing, I don't know if you guys saw this, Devin Moran's going to run 3 of them. So Devin Moran could definitely be on the podium, and maybe you get Saturday, maybe you get Eckert. I mean, we'll find out, but I don't know who else is going up there. But Moran could definitely be a guy that podiums at some of those tracks. All right. I'm going to go to the Hibbing Raceway opener, my old stomping grounds, home away from home. I'm going to pick the winners in 3 classes here. Kyle Peterlin will win the late model opener. Johnny Broking will win the modified opener, and Tristan LaBarge will win the super stock opener. All 3 of those drivers will win the opener. All right, Coach Kraus.
We're going to go USMTS racing here. And Mr. Sanders has had enough of not winning consistently, and he's been getting a little bit quicker, and he's gearing up for that $100,000. Rocket Rodney Sanders is sweeping the weekend. He features. I'm not going to go bold with qualifying that whole 9 yards. I'm going to punt like Bert does here. So we're going to go. He's winning both of them. Mr. Rocket Rodney Sanders is winning both this weekend.
And in order for this to count, both races have to happen?
Correct.
Okay. All
Not
right,
this
Bert.
rain out stuff Bert comes up with, the rain out, and then he wins one and he get points.
You guys,
Nice.
you guys keep saying I'm not bold, but I don't get any right.
yeah. Obviously, it's not working for either of us. That's for sure. You're ahead of us two, though. All right, Bert.
All
you're
right,
third and final.
This one's for Coach. Not only will Sanders not sweep the weekend, he will not be on the podium either night.
Wow, that is a direct competition there. I would say that if you're confident in yours, Kraus, that's extremely bold right there. I'll go with that. All right, good, Jeff. He kind of wanted to pick on you a little bit. I don't know which one I should go with. You tell me. He said that a certain track promoter that owns a track that races on Sunday will win a feature at Viking before you do this year. But I told him, I said, I don't know if we want to go that way. I think we should maybe go with a different pick. What do you think? Should we just X-nay that one off and go with a different pick?
What in the world is he talking about? First off, he's going to get banned from this bold prediction crap with his picks. It's not even any. It's like, come on, buddy. Let's get bold about it.
All right. He said Kennedy Swan, right? Young lady from Wisconsin will have 5 or more feature wins in 2024. Kennedy Swan. She's fast. She's kind of got to find her way to the front. She got a couple hot shots, but Kennedy Swan's going to win 5 or more. Somebody keeps calling me, but we'll call them back. Just about done. All right, Kenny's third and final prediction. High limit sprint car action. So his initial pick was whoever finishes on the podium will be on the podium Thursday and Friday as well. So to clarify this, the podium on Monday was Tyler Courtney, Spencer Baston, Buddy Kofoid. According to him, those 3 drivers will finish on the podium in the high limits Thursday and Friday. Kenny, I hate to break this to you, but you're screwed because Buddy Kofoid will absolutely not be at either one of those races. So that one is definitely incorrect right there. Should we be nice? I guess he put the prediction in before that, so I guess it is what it is. It counts. So I was going to say, should we be nice and say, should we just give him Courtney and Baston? But no, I don't think so. He made this prediction before that, so he's already got one wrong, and we're not even done with the show yet. All right. I'm going to go with my third and final prediction. I'm going to go USMTS modifieds as well. Jim Chisholm, Jake Tim, Dan Ebert. They will go 1, 2, 3 and represent the podium at least one of the 2 nights this weekend at RPM. So all 3 drivers on the podium on the same night, not they're each going to get a podium. On one of the 2 nights, the podium will specifically be Jim Chisholm, Jake Tim, Dan Ebert on one of those 2 nights. No particular order. No particular order. But those 3 on the podium on the same night. So all 3 on the same night. So, guys, could you do me a favor? Good Jeff actually asked. Send him your predictions. You probably got them written down. Or send them to me. Take a picture, send them to me. Makes it easier for him to do the paperwork there. But that's it. Episode 224 in the book. Lots of racing this weekend. Fans, get out, support your local racetrack if you can. If you can't, jump onto your favorite streaming platform and catch some racing online. Our favorite streaming platform, of course, is Dirt Race Central. They got all the WISSOTA action, so we like to follow them. But there's a lot of different platforms out there, so check out the one that fits you. And as always, if you have any questions, if you got any feedback, if you have any predictions, go ahead and send them over to us. And and let us know what you got and punch the buttons below on any of the comments. So as always, thanks for tuning in. I'm Ryan. That's Coach Kraus. That is Bert Lehman. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please leave a review and subscribe. It is Puka. And Goat Sports has another show out there by podcast, Facebook, and YouTube. It's the Tea with Miss McGill show. Covers hockey, high school hockey in northern Minnesota. So if you're into hockey, you can find us on podcast under Tea with Miss McGill. You can find us on YouTube or Facebook, Goat Sports Media LLC. Yours truly and Coach Reed Larson. We break it down every week. We also do some interesting interviews. We'd love to have you. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch you next week.